Hey guys, welcome back to Jason Unleashed. Hi, hello, good to see you. Jason Carter here, guys. Thank you so much for joining me and thank you so much for watching. Glad to be back with you. Had a long birthday weekend in Key Largo and it was, yeah, the most. The election's coming up. Lots of conservative activity going on down there, but I digress because my show today is awesome. I'm glad to be back with you guys. My guest is someone who's simply incredible. She is an actress, a host, and digital personality. Her name is Sinead Devries. You've seen her on Clever, E, and on Collider. You've seen her everywhere. She's super talented. And just a bundle of joy, so much energy. She's going to be checking into the chat in just a second. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you know the drill. There is a box down there, I think. You can leave stuff. I don't know, Instagram's been updating. And like things have been disappearing, things have been like coming back. It's been crazy, but nonetheless, it's gonna be a great chat with a great person. Hi everyone, let me wave to people because I haven't been on in a minute. Hey Lucas, let's see if Sinead stepped into the room yet. Not yet. Okay, cool. Let's see, bam. Let me start waving at everyone because I always forget. Everyone's asking me, did I get a chance to read The Meaning of Mariah Carey? Absolutely. I have a physical copy, Audible, and the iBooks version. I'm going to do a whole Instagram live about this Mariah Carey memoir because so much now makes sense. But that's a whole other show. Today we're talking about Sinead Devries. Let's see if she stepped in yet. Boom. Sinead, where are you at? It's cool. Let's see. Hey, Corey. All right, we're just waiting for her to come through. I wonder if she's waved yet. I have to scroll all the way to the bottom. Someone go tell Sinead she's live on my show right now. All right, cool. Let's see. Bam. Nope. She hasn't come in. Anyways, so yeah, like I said, it was my birthday weekend. Went to Key Largo. You know, as you guys know, I'm now in Miami, and I don't know. I guess, we are such a divisive country right now. It was just really eye-opening to see all the Trump supporters in Key Largo, and I knew that Florida was one of those states that had a lot of Trump supporters, but I just didn't know to the extent. Nonetheless, let's see, bam, let's see if Sinead's here yet. Not yet. Hey guys in Argentina. All right, she should be coming in just a second. I'm 4 hours ahead, 3 hours ahead. Am I 3 hours ahead? Yeah, 3 hours ahead here in Miami. There's Sinead. Let me go get Sinead real quick. Boom. Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. How do I go? Come on, Instagram. Work. Thank you. Go live with Sinead. I'm telling you, technology has been the bane of my existence in 2020 along with COVID, but it's okay. Sinead, what's up?
Hi.
Hi.
For a second, I was like, what's going on here? Is he canceling on me?
Never.
It said you weren't live, and I was like, do I have this all wrong right now? But
No.
Actually, it worked out just fine.
Just fine. Instagram's sabotage, girl. Instagram is not our friend these days.
Honestly, I'm really impressed that you've managed to figure this all out because this is the first time I'm ever doing this. Like, I've never done this.
Stop it. Is this your first live?
This is my first live.
Well, congratulations. I'm honored. One, if Instagram kicks us off, we're going to go live again because it's been known to just completely go dark and be like, bye. But
Okay.
While I have you, welcome to Jason Unleashed. Sinead, it's so good to see you. You look as darling and as angelic as you always do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. This is amazing. I'm so proud of you for doing this. I was looking through like some of the older clips and stuff like that. It's like, not even kind of, it really is so incredible.
Aww.
Honestly.
Oh, wait, hey, girl, thank you. You knew me when? You knew me when I was like trucking to West LA for a little hosting sesh or two back in the day. But nonetheless, we are here. Good to see you, girl. It's October already. It feels like you're 2020. How's it been? How's quarantine been treating you?
Well, it's been insane. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. I feel like this year's been like the wildest, weirdest, wackiest ride of life ever. But I mean, there's a lot of good and bad that came from this year. And sometimes, the beginning was kind of like, I don't know, you saw those memes where it started as if like a train wreck or whatever. But if we really, truly stop and look back on this year, maybe in December, I think that a lot of us will see just how wonderful this year was in so many other ways.
Right.
And I think there was something really special about, it's so hard to say because there's obviously nothing special about a pandemic, but there is something very unique and beautiful about people experiencing it together.
Yes.
And even when I was talking to like my sister back in the day, I was like, it's almost comforting because you know that it's not just like your little bubble, your community, your friends, your city,
Right.
it's the entire world. And you know, we have, obviously we're originally from South Africa, so we have family over there, and my boyfriend has family, his family's in England, and it's just like for the first time in a very long time, everybody was going through it together. So in that sense, it's been really eye-opening, and it's just wild at times. There were times where we would just start laughing and not know like what up there or down, and there were other times where like we would be crying and just like so upset. And obviously we have a child, so on a
Yeah.
personal front, I can 100% say that I've experienced every known human emotion over the past 6 or 7 months, you know.
You hit the nail on the head on so many different levels, Sinead, because one, again, this is a collective suffering, right? It's a global pandemic. It's a global collective suffering, but also you talk about silver linings, about the things that we're discovering about ourselves and how, oh, look, I hope in December, honestly and truly, we look back on this year and be like, yes, but I don't think it's going to be December because an election's coming up, and I feel like the dumpster fire is about to become volcanic. Nonetheless, Nils, your boyfriend's in the comment section, and so is your sister Kelly. How is the family doing? How's Harrison? How's Nils? How's the family?
I mean, it's been good. I mean, for the first couple months of quarantine, Nils and I, you know, we would usually have my mom like take Harrison every couple weeks, and she would take him from a Friday to a Sunday. So for the first 2 months of quarantine, we didn't do that at all. So I didn't see my parents for about, I think it was like 8.5 weeks before I was literally like, I called my mom and I was like, do you know what child abuse is? And she's like, yeah. I was straight up losing it. And it was tough. I mean, he's 4. He's a 4-year-old, very rambunctious, very independent child. And he, you know, he's so overly friendly and so social. And he doesn't have a lot of friends, which is so sad because he doesn't go to school. And we
Yeah.
were fully preparing to get him going with preschool and stuff like that. And we had literally just talked about, I think it was the beginning of March where I started doing the research and pulling up schools around here. And I looked up a couple in our neighborhood and some over in Pasadena where my parents live too. And it was like within a week of that everything happened. So I know people are taking their children back to school now, but I am the most paranoid person on the face of the earth. And I'm just not ready for that. Like kids are gross without a pandemic, you know?
Right, right. No, it makes sense.
Yeah, they're just full of germs, you know. So I just feel like it's been really insane with Harrison. But you know, after those first couple months, we worked out a really great system, and so now my parents do take him every couple weeks because work is starting again slowly but surely. So it's been good because now we've been able to kind of transition slowly back into work. And I always think about that too because I feel like for people who are so busy, usually like Nils is one of those people that just never stops. And then having everything come to a complete standstill.
Full stop.
Now,
Yeah.
it's just like now you have to transition your mind again. It's such a huge thing for everybody. Everybody has to like really, this year will change so many people, just like the mindsets and things like that. But I think I am just so grateful at the end of the day for I was being forced to spend more time with my son. And I mean, I love him to death. He's like obviously my best friend. And I just, when people are like, oh my God, that's so cute. I'm like, no, seriously, like he is my best friend. Like we are so like similar in a lot of ways. And he makes me laugh. And like, I have just been a workaholic since the beginning, since I got pregnant. Cause obviously none of that was planned. So I freaked out a little bit. And as soon as I had him, I went back to work because I was paranoid, you know. It was during a time where things were just taking off for me. So it was 5 days after I gave birth that I was live on a show, and everyone was saying like, "Go home," and I was like, "No, you can't make me. I will work." So I think that it's just always been that mindset. It's been really hard to separate those two things because I feel like I don't want to. I don't want to take advantage of like all of these opportunities and time. And, you know, anybody in this business knows that things change in a second.
Overnight. Yes.
And it's scary. It's really scary. So I think this year was really great because it forced me to like give myself the credit that I do believe I deserve for, you know, and it was one of those things that I never truly believed it when people said like, oh my God, it's incredible what you're doing. Like, wow, you're a mom, you're doing all these things and you're a mom. And I would always just be like, well, yeah, like this is the way it is. It never felt like I was being some sort of superhero. It was just kind of like, this is my life. I have a child and it's my responsibility to be a mother, but also provide and be able to like give him a great future one day. So I never viewed it as like anything. And now I feel like this kind of forced me to take a minute and be like, well, like you are doing really great things as a mom too. And I'm just really grateful that I was able to, we made so many memories this year. Like I've
Yeah.
never spent so much time with him, which is sad, like to think about because he's 4. And this is the first time I can honestly say where there's so much quality time. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that.
It's a beautiful thing. I feel like there's a bigger plan. Obviously, if you want to be altruistic with it. Ooh, is that celery juice? Are you drinking a celery juice?
Celery juice?
It's the rage. Apparently, Jennifer Aniston's all about it.
Ooh, gross. I love Jennifer Aniston. She's like my favorite human being on the face of the earth. But celery juice is a hell no. This is matcha. It's day old matcha from Starbucks.
Yeah,
This is the most basic bitch thing compared to celery juice.
matcha tastes like fish to me. But you said something that's that was really eye opening because I've known you for a
Yeah.
while, Sinead, and you are a hard worker. One of the things I love about you, beyond your just bubbly, energetic, and just compelling personality, you're so fucking fun to watch. But is the fact that you're very real and there's layers of realness with people. And you are on the layer that's like, I want that. Like that's the realness the type of realness I want from people. But you're also very relatable. When you were pregnant, you got pregnant at 22, yeah?
Yeah, 22.
22 in an industry that completely judges you on everything
Absolutely.
and says, "Oh my God,"
Mhm.
uh, as a woman of color, and oh my God, you're pregnant, working for outlets that have legions of people that look to you to be a certain person. How did you manage to stay positive and stay sane through all that? Because that's a life-changing event in an industry that works like no other, that cannot wait to judge you. How did you find the strength to stay true to Sinead and move forward and make sure that you were not only on top of your game, but that you could be the best person for your future baby now, Harrison?
Well, you know what? Like, I wish I had some sort of like long, words of wisdom. But if I'm being 100% honest, in that moment, I completely fell apart. Like, it was like my entire world came crashing down. When I was just had turned 22, I had gone to the doctor. I was having like some issues, and they told me that I was going through early menopause, and it looked like I was infertile. And then I got pregnant literally 3 months later.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to the doctor in like January, just right after I turned 22, and I got pregnant in April. So it was like one of those things where I was like, "You lied to me, lady." Yeah. So it was. I think that also added to the shock of it because I truly did believe that if I ever did want to have kids one day, it was going to be extremely difficult. I mean, what 22-year-old gets told they're going through menopause?
Right, right.
Same. But and it was so normalized to me by the doctors. I went to 3 different doctors, went to a specialist, and they were just like, yeah, we don't know why it's happening. But, I think when I did get pregnant, I was like, why is this happening? I just got told this year this might never happen for me. Here I am getting pregnant. Like, all I could do in that moment was accept that this was meant to be
Mm-hmm.
and embrace it. And honestly, it was like fight or flight. I was like, okay, you cried your eyes out for like 12 hours, but now you have a choice to let this completely break you down to the rawest form of like anxiety and paranoia. Because not only was that just when things were taking off, but the day I found out I was pregnant was the same day I signed my first major contract with Disney.
Girl,
Was
with Disney.
with Disney, and it was horrifying. I was so scared, and it was like I think I put more pressure on the situation than anybody I even was working for at that time did. It was just one of those things, and I ended up doing a bunch of stuff on Freeform through Disney. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I filmed on Freeform, I was pregnant at the time. Nobody knew. And then I filmed about 12 days later, right after giving birth. I never even talked about it, but it was also the time. The time back then was a little bit different than it is now too. I mean, we still have a long way to go in terms of things like this, but looking back on it, it does make me sad because I was just so scared to even
Yeah.
talk. So wonderful. And I have to be honest, like that really took away a lot of the potential excitement of being pregnant. And I spent the majority of my pregnancy, freaking out. And also I had a high risk pregnancy, and Harrison had been given like a 5% chance of survival. So it was like one of those things where there was just so much going on that I just had to focus on one thing at a time. And I absolutely could not have done it without my family. Like
Right.
there's absolutely no way. My parents moved from Illinois to California when they found out that I was pregnant. And I mean, between them and my sister, like there's just no way I would have not been able to do it. And I'm extremely lucky to have had a family that would uproot their lives and move across the country just to like be some sort of support,
Yeah, well, and you also grew up in a family that faith is a big deal.
Yeah.
Being steadfast in the eyes of the Lord,
Right.
and that's a huge deal. So I think there's some strength in that as
Yeah,
well. And
absolutely.
I also want to say to Sinead that you freaking out about your life in that industry is because you have been directly and indirectly abused by an industry as
Absolutely.
Hollywood. So you were that was just the side effects of years and years of conditioning that you had to be a certain thing and subscribe to a certain way of thinking in order to exist in those spaces, which to your credit, you surrendered and said, as you said, I have to focus on just one thing and
Yeah.
make this happen. And now by you surrendering, look at what the universe, if you want to get really Oprah with it, look what the universe has given you. It's like it's hindsight's 2020 like a motherfucker. And don't
Yeah.
you look back and be like, oh my God, look at us now.
Right. Or like, it's just so funny because like Kelly and I will sometimes, Kelly was there, my sister was there when I found out, and I took like probably like 5 pregnancy tests because I was like, give me another one, and he was there with me, and we talk about it now, like if only just by some like weird way that could have been filmed, because the reaction that I had was like, somebody give me my Emmy. It was the most dramatic in the entire world. And it's hilarious to think about now. And I remember like throwing myself against the wall and like sliding down the wall and just crying. And I just look back on it and I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like you're right. Hindsight is 2020. And it's funny. So when people ask me like, oh my God, how'd you do it? I'm like, dude, you can only do what you can do. There is
Yeah.
no right or wrong answer to navigate. That is the biggest thing that can happen in somebody's life at certain points. Having a child, being responsible for another human being when you also want to be selfish and need to be selfish and things like that, there's nothing you can do except do exactly what you can do.
Right.
I
Right.
did exactly what I could do, and I allowed myself to freak out, but I told myself over and over, like, there is absolutely nothing that is going to end your life. Like, your life's not over. Like, just do it. Just take it one day at a time and do it. And I got through it, and pretty soon I had a human, and then it's like, you don't even think about the bad after that,
Yeah, totally. Well, how has Harrison inspired your work? And we're going to talk about your career in a second, but I mean, being completely present with you,
Mhm.
I love when people share stories as yours, Sinead, because you are, like I said, I've known you for a long time. You've always been on your hustle. You've always been a hard worker. You've always been like, yes, 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 let's go, let's make this happen.
Yep.
And along the way, that type of go-getter energy and attitude wears on you. The business wears on you. I don't give a shit what people say about Los Angeles and being in any facet of Hollywood. It's fucking hard work. Excuse my language. This is my show. And before you know it, you wake up and you're 27, you're 41, and you're just like, I'm tired.
Right.
And it's just from the struggle, but you also have a love for what you do. How has being a mom changed you in your career and how you approach things?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is like, it's allowed me to really kind of, I don't know how to explain this. It's allowed me to really know myself more as a person, because before you have kids, you think about like getting pregnant and like, oh my God, like I can't wait to share the milestones and like, stand in front of the wall and show my belly growing. And I envy women who are like that, but for me, I think pregnancy is one of the worst things in the entire world. And I truly, like, for the first time was like, that's okay. Like, that's fine. Like, it's fine to be a woman and be like, this sucks. Like, I'm uncomfortable. I feel like I'm trapped in somebody else's body. I smell and nothing feels good. And then, like, being able to be like, somebody said to me, and it was like such a crazy moment, because I really realized, somebody said, oh my God, are you just so in love with him? And I had him like 14 hours earlier. And I was like, not yet, but I'm sure I'll love him
someday.
And it wasn't a joke. I was being serious, but I understand why, looking on that, somebody's like, oh my God, somebody take her child away. But like, it's one of those things where I was like, whoa, I'm not like the moms you see on the internet, be very proud of like pregnancy and all these things. And I envy that, because sometimes I'm like, is there something wrong with me? But then I realized that there is a whole group of women that I've really truly connected with that are just like, it's opened me up to a completely different like audience, I guess. So it's kind of been like, it hasn't really even inspired anything. It's just kind of changed a lot in that sense. And I do like to keep it real, very, very honestly. And I'll be like, yeah, I mean, I love my child, but sometimes I wonder if he's the spawn of Satan because he's crazy,
But you hear it all the time, though, Sinead. You hear celebrities especially now with homeschooling, quarantine, and the relationship with your child is one that's very intrinsic. It's very tight and very close, right? And so much like with your partner, there's just nuances and idiosyncrasies that drive you insane. My mom used to always want to slap the shit out of me every single day. There was no quarantine. So I can imagine how life has been in quarantine with your kid, but you're not crazy for that.
Yeah, and I think that's just been like kind of like funny, kind of an eye-opening experience for me, because I do feel like it's real. That's just me being real, and you feel so much pressure as a mom too to, I don't know, like be this, you have it all together, everything's like perfect, your kid is dressed by 8:30 and he's got his cereal on the table, and you go to work and just life is like, black and white, and it's just beautiful. There's no emotions, there's nothing crazy happening, but that's not reality at all. And so just helped me to be more open and honest with that, and be like, I don't know everything. I don't think anybody does. So
yeah,
the mom is like learning just as much as, anybody else, for sure.
Right. Well, that's funny. You're not supposed to have anything figured out. And by the way, Jackie, Idenisi says, hey, people are really happy that you're live for the first time. There's someone here named Girl to Abuse says, oh my God, I love you so much. I'm from India. You're amazing, girl. Thanks for going live. You said audience, and you have an audience, especially here on Instagram, of close to 72,000 people. You are a digital personality. Your pictures are stunning. I was like, how does Sinead have the absolute best pictures ever? I'd ask your sister, Kelly. By the way, Kelly, hi, Kelly. But social media is of course, it's this hub of humanity. Like it or not, it's where there's an existence, of course, there. And how do you balance being Sinead and giving to that audience? Because you're very giving to your audience with your posts and what you say, and just you're very consistent. How do you balance that aspect of your business with your mental health? Because I know, like, I do a show on Instagram every day, and it's a lot for me. And I go on and I log on, talk to people, go home. But you post pictures, people objectify you. People have something to say. You're on a major network of Clever that has millions of people that know who you are, that are fans of you or not fans of you. You got to take the good, the bad. But how do you turn it off, and how do you practice self-care, especially now?
I mean, I think that for like this year was really hard, because there was at one point during quarantine that like 2.5 weeks went by and I hadn't posted a single thing. And it's just like, sometimes I don't know if you can hear that, but that's my son, piano. Apparently like right outside the door. You can thank his grandparents for that wonderful, wonderful Christmas purchase. I think there at one point, like 2 weeks had gone by and I posted a single thing, and I had to be honest, and I was like, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to post. I don't want to post. I have nothing to say. I don't even know what's happening. I don't want to post. And also, like, it's difficult because you do feel it is part of your job, and people don't understand that. And,
Right.
you know, they're like, oh, you know, she does so many sponsorships and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is income. Like, this is a job. I have a family, and having to like explain that sometimes is really difficult, because I can understand that social media is a blessing and a curse at the time, both times.
Yes.
It's always, you have to like be really careful with it, but it's also like, it just helps you navigate a better way to approach things when it comes to conversations, social conversations. And I do think the good outweighs the bad. But yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I can't balance it. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I need to take a break from it. And there is no other way to kind of escape some of that anxiety that I feel sometimes. I think that the way I started this business, doing primarily like stereotypical guy programming, which was TVs, movies, video games, geek stuff. And I've always been a giant nerd. I still am. And it's like one of those things being thrown into shows and content that were being primarily watched by men,
Right.
really truly set me up and gave me a very thick skin, because I mean, I hate to say it, but I was like some of the worst things I'd ever read in my entire life. To this day, even, like, I can remember exact word for word comments I got, like just people thinking that girls don't know anything about, you know, guy stuff. I do think it's changing, which is great, but you know, they think you're stupid. They think you don't know anything, or they talk about the way that you look in sure nice ways, but very aggressive ways sometimes,
Right.
or really awful ways. And when I got pregnant, the amount of because I didn't tell anybody I was pregnant until I gave birth, so I was hiding it from everybody. And just the amount of comments I got, the amount of, you know, people asking and really speculating, in-depth conversations on some of those programs about like when Sinead was going to talk about her boob job. Meanwhile,
Right.
my boobs had gotten, yes, ginormous. I do miss them very much. But at the same time, I was like, that's such a personal thing, and I don't have to explain. But just seeing the amount of something so simple that could be like taken as a joke or whatever. But it got like to a point where I was like, wow, people are really scrutinizing the way that I look. People talking about how much weight I had gained, just like things like that. Wow, Sinead got fat, like all this stuff. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to grow a human being, you know, like, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, sometimes you can't escape it, but you just have to take it for what it is and understand that I still truly do believe the good outweighs the bad. I do think it's a very fine line, but I do think that the good outweighs the bad when it comes to social media.
The social media, I love that. I love that you have this glass half full mentality, because a lot of people don't have that. It's hard to hang on. I feel like even for myself, Sinead, it's been very hard to hang on to that in 2020. Real quick, girl, JC Lip Mazing says hi. Can you say hi, JC? Hi, JC. Oh my God. And people, Sinead, people are totally relating to everything you're saying, because I think it just transcends being a mom. I think just growing as a person, we could all relate to. Getting back to, you said that when you were at Collider, when you were at Clever, when you were pregnant, well, and we'll move on to career, but I have to ask this.
Yeah.
Was there a definitive time when you exhaled after you said you hid your pregnancy, which is hard to do, right? Which is, that's a conscious choice, but also you battle with anxiety, you battle with mental health issues. And first of all, how are you doing with that? Are you good?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've had my moments, you know. I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was 9, but like the first time I ever went to a therapist, and it was based on like phobias, you know. So I assumed like you get over your phobias, your anxiety goes away, and it just worked like that.
Right.
Yeah. So because like now, being 28 years old, I still have a couple phobias, but it's like my phobias are a lot better, and the anxiety doesn't go away. But I also feel like anxiety is one of those things that you come to realize really quickly that no matter how many times you try to explain it, sometimes you cannot explain what anxiety is. Like, you cannot. You're anxious before you even know you're anxious, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I realized a few years ago, after like I had a talk with like another therapist, I realized that my phobia didn't cause my anxiety. My anxiety had caused my phobia, because I would have this thing where I think I was walking into an audition once. I know I'm totally side trailing here, but I was walking
Okay.
once and I got really nauseous. I'm a metaphobic, which is the fear of throwing up. So
Mm-hmm.
I was walking to audition. I got really nauseous and I was about to open the door to this casting office it was on Ventura Boulevard, Studio City. It was like 104 degrees that day. And I was about to walk in and I got so nauseous that I told myself, like, oh my God, I'm about to throw up right now. And then I started panicking about throwing up because I was like, what happened? Like, I got sick. I must have eaten something, blah, blah, blah. In reality, I called my mom and she was like, relax, turn around, go back. You're fine. If you are actually sick, you would have thrown up by now. Like, you can't tell yourself not to throw up if you are getting a bout of like the stomach flu or something. Because at that point, a few minutes had gone by and she's like, how much time till your audition? I was like, 3 minutes. I got here early. She's like, go inside, relax. After that audition, everything was fine. And I was like, oh, I'm not nauseous. I'm not. And it was like this click moment for me that I was like, holy crap. For the longest time, I've always felt like being a metaphobic caused a lot of my panic attacks, or, you know, just like my panic in general, or my anxiety. When in reality, it was always the opposite way around. So if I managed to try to get my anxiety under control, then I realized that I have way less freakouts when it comes to throwing up and like actual phobia, you know? So
Right. You found a way to manage
yeah,
something that could have been very debilitating for you, which is also leans on your strength. The question I was going to ask you is, people have moments when they exhale and they have moments where they cry or they scream or they just let it all go after you going through everything you went through with your pregnancy, from finding out that you weren't supposed to have kids to having kids. I mean, that's a whirlwind. Was there one definitive moment where you actually cried and were just like, I survived this, where it was just like, that you didn't have to hide it anymore, that um, you didn't have to pretend anymore? Was there one moment?
it was in the hospital for sure. And it was, after I had a C-section and after they took Harrison away, they like wheeled me out and my parents came in the room. And when my parents came in the room, they brought Harrison back in and they put him in the little bed and they were like, oh, you can hold him. And I was just like, no, no. And I was just like sobbing, like crying, because I was looking at this tiny little thing and I was like, what the actual
Oh, yeah.
just happened? And it was like the biggest mind F. And my mom was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I was like shaking. I couldn't speak. I was shaking my head, looking at her, just crying. And I was like, no, like nothing's wrong. And she's like, are you overwhelmed? And I was like, mm-hmm. She's like, are you happy? And I was like, mm-hmm. And she was like, are you relieved? And I was like, uh-huh. Like, it was just one of those things, because I had put so much pressure on this situation. And then eventually, when I was about like 9 months pregnant, I finally let go of a lot of that stress I'd been
Yeah.
holding, trying to enjoy it, like really trying to enjoy it a lot. And I went into labor 2 weeks early because I got into a car accident. So just the whole 48 hours was very stressful. Yeah, I got into a 4-car accident on the 110 in Pasadena, going to the OB because I had been having contractions that morning. And I was going to the OB because she said, well, why don't you come in? They might be false labor, but just come in anyways. It'll be good, whatever, just to have us. My doctor is in Beverly Hills. So I had a while to go, but I had just left. It was within 10 minutes of leaving my parents' house that I got into that car accident. And then I went into labor the next day. So the car accident brought on labor. So I think it was just so much. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody, that kind of stress. And obviously, like, that was also the moment I realized I cared so much more about Harrison than I realized, you know, because I saw the car in front of me. They had crashed, and I knew I was going to join that crash because I was coming around a turn. And as I saw the car in front of me, it was like, you either brake or
Or
protect your child. Like,
right.
pick one. You only pick one because it's a split second. And in that moment, I'll never forget it. Like, all I did was I just held my stomach and like tried to relax, because in that split second I remembered that you have to relax if you know you're going to get an impact, because you can cause more damage if you're tense. And I made all those decisions so fast without really thinking about myself, my car, whatever. All I cared about was, oh my God, please don't let anything happen to my stomach. And I just held my stomach and I took the impact, and I just sat there and I was looking down, and immediately I'm like, oh my God, like where? And then I got hit from behind. And it was like, it was just
The
terrible.
mo-
It was just the worst ever, the worst, absolute worst thing. And I didn't get on my car, and all the people came in the street and they were all talking to each other, and they came up to the car and they were like, we're sharing information, like if you want to get out. And I just looked up at this woman who was like so rude, and I was like, I'm 9 months pregnant. And she was like, what? And I moved my hands away and I was like, I'm 9 months pregnant, can you please call the police? And then
yeah.
she did, and I got taken in an ambulance. And it was like, also, yeah, like it was horrible, but 100% it really showed me truly that I was already a mother at that point, even though I
Yeah.
didn't even know it, because all I cared about was him.
Uh, doing my research on you, Sinead, and watching just hours of you on TV and listening to interviews, there's something superhuman about you. Like there's something, and not in the sense of like Marvel mutant, but like just in your spirit. And I don't know. Look, I'm never at a loss for words and how to articulate something. But when it comes to you and how I feel about just your existence and what you've shown people and what you share and you being a mother, all I can think of is superhuman and what you've been through. And I'm so impressed by just you. And I know that sounds that's a very basic bitch thing to say, but it's true. It's true. And yeah, like, wow, I didn't even know that story. I know that story. And so, and look, and you're here because of the strength and your faith and whatever you want to call, whatever you believe in, you're here by the graces of that. So life is funny that way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I,
Um,
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
of course, of course. Instagram's going to kick us off in 20 minutes. Definitely want to talk about your career. You were an actress. And by the way, people that are watching, Sinead can sing. We need that CD, that EP, those singles soon. But what pisses me off about you, Sinead, is that unlike us people who are like, I got bit by so many skills. I'm going to go be the next, like, Bill Bellamy. You got into hosting. Hosting just happened. You were an actress. You did all these cool things. You're like, I'm just gonna go be a host, and then all of a sudden you start booking, and here we are, Collider, Clever, freaking E. I mean, how cool is that? You are like goals. When you look back at your career, what do you think? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's one of those things that I was telling my sister is my manager, obviously. So I was talking to her the other day, and I was like, it's really easy sometimes to take for granted when things happen, or you get super close, or something does happen and then it doesn't come to fruition afterwards, or you lose it. Like everybody else, I'm always going through it. And we all go through it in different ways. We have good times and bad times. This year for me was particularly like horrific.
Why?
What'd you say?
Why was it horrific?
Well, it was like one of those things where I had been tied up with a project, and I say tied up like not even in a negative way. It was the most exciting thing in the entire world. I was so grateful to be tied up. I was like, shackle me to this project. I'm ready. And I was so excited, and it was a very long process. And I booked it in the beginning of the year. And it was one of those things that it was like, boom, boom, super excited. And I was so grateful, because while quarantine was happening and everything was going on, it was always like the silver lining. Like, oh,
Yeah.
the project's happening, and it got pushed and it got pushed. But it was always like, oh, we're ready. We're going to do it. And then it totally got taken away from me. And I say got taken away from me as if like I'm a victim in any of this. And I don't believe I'm a victim at all. Like, there are unforeseen circumstances that COVID created for so many people, and it directed a lot of plans, and budgets were cut, and they had to make some really hard decisions on letting go of people. And ultimately that was me. And it was like one of those things where it was like so much more difficult to deal with than a lot of the other setbacks. And I think it was just because I hadn't felt this excited for something in a very long time. So it was really, really tough. So when I look at my career, I always have to force myself still. You know, it's easy to look at a resume and be like, wow, she's done so many things. That's great. And I'm so grateful. And I truly am very proud of myself for some of my achievements. And it's like one of those things. But at the end of the day, the fight it never ends. The
Right.
grind continues every day. And it's easy to look at other people and be like, oh my God, it's so like, he's so lucky he's working. She's so lucky. Like she got this person, blah, blah, blah. But you never know what's happening in other people's lives. And for like me on the outside, I understand that it can look like I've done all these things, but like there are just as many setbacks for all of us, you know,
Right.
until you're truly locked into like a 10-year contract. I mean,
Which don't exist anymore.
Don't exist anymore. It's just what I got to keep it real, just because especially this year, I got a lot of messages from people kind of like rethinking their paths and their careers and stuff like that, and asking for advice and how do they get into this. And I would love to be like, oh my God, yeah, you know, you come out here and just do it and blah, blah, blah. And I truly am like, for me, it's like, if you don't do it, you'll never know.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things too, that you got to keep it real. And it's like, this is not easy for anybody, even for the people who are going to work every single day. It's not easy. And you can think you have this wonderful, amazing opportunity, and then something happens and it just wasn't meant. You just weren't it. Like you just were not the right person for the job, or, you know, the world goes into a pandemic, and like there's no way to really put a easy pin on any of it. There's no way to put a label on any of it. So when I look at my career, I'm just like, it's almost like I'm still in shock at everything that's happened over the past few years. But I'm very grateful for the good and the bad, because it's really truly made me a very, very strong person.
And a strong person is what you have to be in this business. But there's something to be said about success in becoming that strong person in the business, regardless of if you book work. Because as you said, I think what people don't realize is that on the way to the job is where you do your most work. When you book the job, it's like, cool, great, we're Gucci. But what you experience, the growth, like you said, the setbacks, the disappointments, healing, bouncing back, finding the energy to be like, all right, let's get up and do this again. It's going to suck again today. But you know what? As you said, the fight never ends. That's the success. That is the resilience is just as important as signing on the dotted line and getting that 3-year deal. Hanging in there will be the greatest battle of your life in any struggle, be it work, relationship, health, life, you name it, whatever you're trying to ascertain and achieve, hanging in there is the greatest challenge. That's where you have to have the skill set, because once you finally get to where you're going, it's like, oh, we're good. But it's not giving up on the days, and you know, Sinead, where you book that job, you're on the verge of buying a new car or whatever, all of a sudden you get a call from whoever saying, you know what, they went in a different direction, and that's the only explanation you get. Or all of a sudden one day we just don't have the money, myriad of different reasons, right? And it's just like, for what reason? Like, what universe, why did this happen? But also the beautiful thing too is that you look back and think, I'm so glad some of those things didn't work out. You know, I'm so glad that I was removed from that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really all you can do. But you're right, actually. Like, you are 100% right. The most work happens on the way to the audition, or, you know, after that final callback, before that decision, because it is so much mental, like, so much mental strain sometimes, and it's really difficult. But, you know, we all love this business so much as we can be like talking shit on it, because sometimes it sucks, sometimes sometimes it makes no sense, and sometimes you know that you didn't get a job that you were perfectly capable of doing.
Story of my life.
You know, and it's like you have to tell yourself that too. You can't be like, oh well, you know, maybe somebody else was better. You need to be like, nah, dude, I could have done that. Like, I could have done that too. It just wasn't my day. But that doesn't mean I wasn't 100% capable of not just doing it, but freaking killing it. And have to like, you have to bounce back. Otherwise, you will not survive this business.
You won't.
You know, there's a reason that, you know, there's the hosting like community is so small too. I've known you for so many years, and it's one of those things where we are all still grinding. Like if I go back to that hosting class, I just think about all those people and like how many of us are just all still grinding, and we have like lists of things that we've all done, and huge networks, and just like it's insane of all the things we have managed to accomplish as like one Thursday at 1 p.m. hosting class in a week full of hosting classes. Just like to think of how many things everybody's done, but at the same time, we're all still grinding. It's like, you know, none of us are ever gonna just sit back and be like, oh, well, I'm here. Like, even once you book the job, you still grind, because we understand what this business is, and the business changes in a second.
In a second, quicker than a second. But if you weren't Sinead Devries, digital personality, host, mother, actress, what would you be doing? Like what I can't imagine you doing anything else than what you're doing, but I don't live in your head. What would you be doing if you weren't the person you are now?
Honestly, I can't imagine doing anything else either. And I always used to make this joke like, God, I hope this works out, because I don't know if I'm good at anything else. But, you know, I honestly, like, it's so hard for me to imagine myself in not this business, because when people weren't going to host, you know, what would you do? I'd be like, well, I just go into acting full time. And they'd be like, well, okay, if you weren't going to do anything on TV. And I'd be like, oh, well, then I'd probably like do a podcast. And they're like, okay, no, if you were not going to do this business. And I was like, maybe I'd be like a crime scene investigator. And it sounds so insane, but I'm obsessed with murder, like 100% obsessed. Not like I'm a serial killer, don't worry. But like I have become 100% obsessed with podcasts. I listen to true crime podcasts, watch true crime documentaries, and I read all the articles, and I follow up with all the cases all day, every day. Like, name a true crime podcast, I've listened to the entire thing. I have engaged in the Facebook group. I have done my own detective work. So I honestly think that it would be really fun to be some sort of like private investigator, or, you know, like maybe like a PI to like really rich families, you know, like really rich families who have like crazy secrets and like lots of mysteries.
But the PI ends up dead in those stories, though.
Well, you know what? Because I just listened to one where they hired this PI, and he called the mom and said, I figured it out. He's investigating her daughter's murder. I figured it out, but we can't talk on the phone. Can you please meet me tomorrow? The mom's like, yes, gets all her stuff. Guy ends up dead that day. And I was like, oh, shit.
Right.
Maybe a PI, you know? Maybe
there you go.
Yeah.
Real quick, Lucas John 85, what's up, man? Big supporter. Also, today is Desiree Dior's birthday. Happy birthday, Desiree. She's watching right now. She's wanting to get a birthday shout out.
Hey.
Sinead, I wish we had hours to talk, because you're just so fascinating, and I just love talking to you. But this year has been crazy. No, this year has been crazy. And I feel like after November, it's going to get even crazier. However, with that said, though, what does the future hold? Really quickly, like, where do you see yourself, and what is on the horizon in any capacity?
Well, you know, it was like after that job kind of fell through this year, it had taken, you know, so much of my attention, and it is sad to think about. I do feel like that was an opportunity that could have been used, but I was really fully 100% prepared to begin this new job, and it didn't work out. And it was another reminder, I was talking to my family about it. It was another reminder that you cannot base your future on anybody else. You cannot on that. So it was a good reminder for me to have that, like, hey, what else could you have been doing? And I started doing a lot of my own stuff. And essentially, I would really love to do some sort of true crime podcast in 2021. just because I am really so obsessed with it. It makes me so happy. And I honestly feel like I would have the best time talking all things murder, cold cases. But I obviously have been filming for Clever this entire time. So Clever is my weekly job. Been filming throughout all of quarantine and getting ready to go back to the studio. And like the auditions have started again. And, you know, it's just one of those things where I'm just trying to embrace like the excitement of it all to like have, and like that door closed obviously, but now it's just, there's so much more opportunity again and it's exciting. And I want to do a lot of my own stuff. I would love to do that podcast. I really, really think I'm going to do it. Like really, I'm like 99.9%
Good.
that I love it enough to really, truly give it the time and effort that it deserves. And then I would honestly like, I want to do a family YouTube channel now that Harrison's a little bit older. And I don't feel like I'm exploiting, you know, my baby anymore, because now he can honestly tell me that he loves YouTube and he wants to make videos. And I've been starting to do a lot of like home stuff. And so I want to start doing, you know, my approach to everything is I'm not an expert. I don't know anything, but I know like a lot, you know,
Right.
like I don't know anything, but like, trust me, I know a lot. Like it's just
Yeah.
like things, and I just want to see how many different things I can do with that kind of like mindset, you know, just normal everyday family stuff, but like what is everybody else doing, and like how can I put my spin on it, because I'm not an expert in home decorating. I'm an expert when it comes to like pop culture and, you know, movies and TV shows and stuff like that, and like how can I have that kind of fun with something that I'm so good at in other aspects, you know, of my life. So I just want to do all of it, honestly. I just want to do it all.
And I think the empire of what it's gonna be called That's So Sinead, because that was your brand from a long time ago, which I always thought was fucking genius. But I think the success will absolutely be there for you because your authenticity, your passion, and you're so humble and your relatability is so off the charts that it's fun. Like there's no way you cannot succeed. And then I'm just talking to today, Sinead. It's so awesome to see how you have exponentially grown since I met you. Just not even in your talent, but just as a woman and as a person. And I wish you nothing but the best and all the success because you are such an amazing talent, kind person. You're the fucking real deal. And I watch a lot of people on TV, and I will say I have no problem watching you for hours and hours and hours because you're that great and you just have it. And I think that you are supposed to be doing this. And I think the sky's the limit for you. absolutely.
Thank you so
Of
much.
course, of course.
I need to call you like once a week. And I'd be like, hey, remember that time you gave me a pep talk? Can you do that again?
Look, I'm very unemployed, so you know where to find me, boo. I'm an email, a DM, carrier pigeon, Slack mail, you name it. Holler at your boy, really.
Honestly, you're amazing. Also, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
How do you feel? How is it having a birthday during quarantine? I mean,
Well,
we're
you
not
know
during
what?
quarantine, but you know.
I know, for real. Honestly, I don't like celebrate my birthday. I'm not like a party, like, oh my God, I'm having a party kind of guy. Or like, I'm very chill. Me, my husband, and my puppy went down to Key Largo. It was cool, but yo, never again. We'll talk about it offline, Sinead. Girl, it was like, where am I? What is happening? Just a lot of politically driven stuff. But look, Instagram saying I have 5 minutes. I'm gonna let you go, Sinead. Where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all of the social media. That's how that Social Sinead started, was all about being accessible everywhere. So it's always Sinead Devries, my first and last name. And then you guys can see me on Clever Style all the time, and occasionally popping in with some of the guys over at Collider and on the Schmoes. And yeah, I'm just kind of like, I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere.
You're everywhere. You're like Oprah, omnipotent. You're everywhere. But hey, girl, that's what we need. We need more Sinead in 2021. You're doing that podcast. We manifested it right here on Jason Unleashed. You need to do it, and it's yeah.
Yeah,
You have my blessing.
thank you so much.
All right, girl. Look, I'm gonna let you get back. Mwah, love you too. I'm gonna let you get back to Harrison playing the piano. Tell your mom and Kelly and Nils, everyone I said hi. And again, thank you so much for being on Jason Unleashed. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.